Hello, everybody. No, clap again. After the clap. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Wave. This time in store, we're going to cover the Game 4 series. This playoffs, I think I just have to go ahead and get started with by saying that this has been one of the better playoff series I've seen in the last couple years. Not even series, but just playoffs in general. A lot of competitiveness and a lot of uncertainty and just a lot of excitement. So I'm really excited to be covering this with you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, the first game on the slate started on Saturday. There were two game threes and two game fours. They started Saturday. And if we go ahead and take a look, the first game four was Oklahoma City versus Memphis. And like we've been mentioning in the previous videos, yeah, Memphis was just really outclassed this series. Again, I'll reiterate it again. Whoever came out of the eighth seed, whoever was the final team for the eighth seed, it didn't matter who it was going to be. They were going to have a difficult time with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it shows. Shai Gilgeous had 38. He had 13 for 24 shooting. He went to the free throw line 13 times, which I thought was pretty insane. But the starters definitely played well. Chet with 11, 4 blocks. Like, come on. Hartenstein with 11 as well, 12 rebounds. Yeah, everybody out there did what they were supposed to do, or did performed at an exceptional level. And Memphis with Ja Morant going down, that was really he was the edge that was going to give them a little bit of competitiveness, but I would say Scotty Barnes definitely stepped up. 9 for 21 shooting, but the guy was just trying to get as many buckets as he really could, seeing that they were limited on offense. Jaren Jackson, he played really well. Not really well, but he had 12. He was definitely effective out there, but it just wasn't enough. And we need to pay attention to the fact that that game. I mean, obviously the Thunder had that collapse in game 3, which was a game for them to take after before Ja got hurt. So that's something to note. But every game they beat them by 51. The first game, second game they beat them by almost 20. The other one they came back and beat them, and this one was a nail biter. But OKC was able to close it out on the road, and they're moving on to the second round. If I were to sum this series up in a few words, I would say, not even textbook, but it's just Oklahoma City. They can win games multiple ways. They can win games in a dominant fashion, whether that be by 50 or whatever, or they can have comebacks and show that they can get on runs and get hot when they need to, and they can close games out with this one. Shai with the dagger with less than 10 seconds, with a little bit more than 10 seconds to go. So, this team's really good. Look forward to a Memphis blueprint for their offseason this year. Be sure to keep an eye out for that. Those should be coming out soon. But yeah, now that Memphis is out of there, we'll sit down and discuss what they should be doing in the offseason and what their next 2 to 5 years should really look like for the organization, in my opinion. But great win from Oklahoma City. They are the favorites coming out of the West, and rightfully so. They showcased exactly why they should be feared, and teams should be weary that they will be having to face them. This is a deep roster, a lot of good talent, and I think Oklahoma City, they did the job, and again, I can't reiterate that enough. Awesome. Next on the slate was the Denver Nuggets versus the LA Clippers, and I have got to say, if there was a word for basketball, or if there was a game for basketball phenomenon, this is the game. This game had all the makings of a thriller. I was literally looking at the TV screaming my head off, just because it was did it go in, did it not go in? And I was originally, I was like, that didn't go in. But when they kept replaying it, and I'm seeing that he's letting go of it, there's no frame with him with the ball in his hand. Aaron Gordon, as in he, that was a really, really great game. Nikola Jokic definitely had a great match. 21 rebounds with 8 assists. Jamal Murray, surprisingly, he's been a little inconsistent. Not surprisingly, but he's been inconsistent this series. Christian Braun, he was getting into it a little bit with James Harden and all that. It was definitely a game for the ages. They were battling their heads off. And I've seen the comments, but just know that the LA Clippers will be running, or they were running, up and down in practice, because it's just like, it sounds dumb when you break it down, but you telling me that Aaron Gordon, one of the most athletic, he won a dunk contest jumping over a mascot. You're going to tell me you're not going to box that guy out? You're not boxing out Aaron Gordon? Basketball 101, bro. Fundamentals. Like, bro, the ball goes up, you box. Box out. Yo, how you don't box out Aaron Gordon is the reason that the Clippers are, they're going to have to go to 6 games minimum now. They could have had a 3-1 lead if they just, it was literally an air ball from Jokic. So I am in disbelief. I'm not sure what to exactly say. But you got to shout out Nikola Jokic for the 36. Like, he really came through, held the team down. 14 for 25 shooting. He hit 3 threes. Aaron Gordon with the putback, savior of the day. Like, it was just an insane night. And in my honest opinion, I don't know. I think with the Nuggets shooting, 10 for 29, you know, it was like their teams were almost pretty even in terms of threes, free throws, even shots. So it really came down to that. Like, I mean, obviously 2 points, but it came down to that final shot. And that is a execution breakdown. And yeah, it's just something to pay attention to. Let's look at the Clippers really fast before we go ahead and move on. Zubac, again, 12 rebounds, 19 points. Him and, again, I'll reiterate it, him and James Harden are a great combo together. Zubac definitely performed, and while he's not on, I wouldn't say he's not on the level of Jokic in terms of playmaking and passing and all that stuff. He is a respectable center. I've said that before. He's a respectable center. You know, 19 and 12 is definitely with 6 assists. Zubac with 6 assists and a block and a steal. Like, that's a great game out there. James Harden with 15 and 11, not bad. Definitely could see a little bit more on the offensive side. 5 for 11 shooting. Norman Powell was great, but it's just not enough. And you know, it's interesting. That game was really winnable. So I think LA should not even be nervous, but they should be weary that, you know, I watch a lot of football as well as basketball, and in football, the saying is a game of inches. Well, basketball's I would have to say, I'm not saying that, you know, people say that it's not this, but basketball is also a game of inches. Like, literally, like, from boxing out, contesting, rebound, like, all the little margins, they all came back to bite them, and it was just, like, the perfect storm for them to lose, so. Let's see how they handle their bounce back. They play on Tuesday of the following week, so we'll see. It's going to be a game for the ages. I'm still going Clippers in 7. This series has been really difficult to decide, but yeah, it's been a show, and I think this is the makings. These teams have, you can add them to contender because they're going to compete. How deep are their runs depends on how healthy their superstars are and what matchups they get. But this Clippers team is pretty good, and so is this Denver team. So the winner of this series will definitely, in my opinion, be making a lot of noise in the postseason, whether that be upsetting their next opponent or even moving on to the next series. I don't know. I just think the Clippers can beat the Nuggets and vice versa, obviously, but I'm going Lakers in 5. I'm going Clippers in 7 for this series. Again, again, like I've said multiple times. All right. Sunday, the game started with the Knicks versus the Pistons, and I have got to say, I did not expect that game to go out like that. First of all, let me go ahead and share my opinion about how I feel about refereeing and officiating of basketball games. As much as we don't like no calls, bad calls, as much as we hate those, I am not of the opinion or the practice that the calls are what make or break a game. I had to learn that from a young age, that if the refs get a call wrong, that's fine and dandy. But again, if the Pistons wanted to win the game, they wouldn't have put up 93. They would have put up at least 100, 105. In terms of points, no fouls are being called. And while boo-hoo, blah, 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 but in reality, nobody was getting fouls. The Knicks had 17 personal fouls, and the Pistons had 17 personal fouls. It was going either way. It was like the Knicks shot 18 free throws, Pistons shot 17. Officiating that one free throw, and the free throw difference isn't even enough because the Knicks actually shot poorly from the free throw line. So it doesn't go in the Pistons' favor, in my opinion. In fact, what really did it in for the Pistons is their poor three-point shooting. Again, the turnover situation. How many turnovers? 17. 17 to 10. You're not going to beat a team. 17 turnovers, poor three-point shooting. That's a formula for failure, okay? And it's just tough. Again, Cade Cunningham, shout out to Cade Cunningham with the 25-point triple-double. He, in my opinion, he's really, really, like, I don't want to go and drag and say future of the NBA, but this dude is pretty good. I mean, he's pretty efficient. He has a little bit of a touch. And the ceiling is really high for this guy. So Cade Cunningham, shout out to you for the great game, 25-point triple-double. Jalen Duren, I like what I see out of you, 17 rebounds, but again, they're going to need a little bit more from you on the offensive side, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to turn the ball over 3 times, like, it's just like, come on. Cade Cunningham with 7 turnovers, we have to call it out where it is. That's literally where they're, where a lot of the problems are staking from, that the fact that they can't take care of the basketball. If you don't have the basketball, you can't score it. And that also plays in, they also had a 7 turnover differential, and you can see they also had a 7 shot differential as well. And that plays into it. If you're getting the ball taken from you and you're not putting up field goals, you cannot generate points. It is like coaches, like, you have to slap some of these pros because they don't remember that, like, hey, like, we don't get shots up, we don't get points. So if we don't take care of the ball, we won't get points. It's as simple as that. You don't have to go anywhere into that. Again, let's go ahead with the Knicks. It was a very chippy game. OG Anunoby, like, he had one of his worst games of the series, and quite frankly, just due to that Detroit Pistons defense. We have to be honest. They had how many blocks? 9 versus 3 to the Knicks. There was no layups going in. Asar Thompson, pin and shit. Duren, let me make sure I read his name right. Yeah, Jalen Duren, pin and shit. He had how many blocks? 2. Cade Cunningham had 4, and it's tough because that matchup between Jalen Brunson and Cade Cunningham is difficult to gauge because, Brunson had 32 on 50% shooting, over 50% from the 3-point line. So Jalen Brunson had a good game, injury scare with 11. He had 11 assists. He was generating a lot of points for that team. Karl Anthony came in and did what he had to do, 27-9. He was having some foul trouble in the game, and I was of the opinion that they should take him out, but they got the win. Again, so let's say the bad news. The bad news for the Knicks for me is that they did not get the double-digit victories that I expected them to get. At least one double-digit victory on the road. They didn't get it. That's the bad news. The good news is that they're up 3-1. And it's very obvious that I really wish I could take a look at some of their fourth quarter stats, just for the team, just in this series. But Detroit cannot close out basketball games, and that's their problem. That's where their inexperience, their immaturity, and their lack of attention to detail start to show. Tobias Harris played great. He had somewhat of a revival game. For his career, I know he's been under a lot of scrutiny, even by me as someone who watches basketball, for his level of play in the last I'd say 3 to 5 years. He was definitely okay in Philly, but definitely not to the standard of the contract he was getting, and definitely not to the standard of that team because they were on a finals run, so they were really trying to push, and it's just Tobias Harris's build and playing style and how he's just the kind of player that he is, they'd expect a little bit more efficiency from him, and that's always been his problem. He's never really been efficient in scoring. He can score, but he does take a lot of bad shots and stuff like that. And in all honesty, it's just I think we're in the same boat as the Memphis Grizzlies, Memphis, Oklahoma City series. This series might as well be over. I think it's, I don't know. I think the Knicks can definitely close one. Three in a row would be like, yeah, but let's really see. I really think the Knicks can close it out. Hopefully in the Garden, but I don't know. I think Detroit will have a little bit of fight in them. They're not dead yet, but I think this series might be dead. Is my final verdict on that, and I'm taking the Knicks in six maximum. Um, they're either going to win in the Garden or they're going to win at home. If this goes to seven, um, that'll be a complete blunder on the Knicks, and I think their odds of making it to the finals will dramatically fall if they don't close this out in the next. They play on the 29th and they play on the 1st. So they have the rest of this week to figure this out before it goes to the Saturday game, and you don't want it to go to Saturday. So let's see how they do. Next on the slate, Lakers versus Timberwolves. This series has been very, 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 very wishy-washy in terms for the Lakers specifically. Shout out to the Timberwolves for taking a 3-1 lead, especially Anthony Edwards. Now, Anthony Edwards, we got to have the conversation at hand. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm not the hugest Anthony Edwards fan, but what I will say is this guy has had legendary series against a lot of legendary players, and he definitely is a performance player and what I mean by that, I'm sure you can get the context, but he rises for the big moments, man. He's built for these moments. He has the confidence, he has the poise, and quite frankly, he has the game. He shot 5 for 10 from the 3-point line. Like that. On a 43 bomb that he dropped. Mike Conley, again, just a little inefficient for me. For me, Mike Conley, they can definitely look to upgrade that position, but that'll come later on when we're talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves and where I see them moving forward in this season. But Michael Conley, not really playing too well. Rudy Gobert, not really that effective. Again, remember I said he was the X factor, and it seems like the Lakers have had a game plan to neutralize him, which makes sense. Luka and LeBron is more of a smaller lineup, and Rudy Gobert, like we have enough data and film that Rudy Gobert just struggles on smaller lineups, especially when he's made to be put in the rotation in terms of covering, and he has a lot of. This series is not really panning out for him, and it's actually kind of funny because Jackson Hayes hasn't really been playing, but they've been kind of rather going towards the Dorian Finney-Smith over Jackson Hayes, which in my opinion is a great move. Jackson Hayes is great. He's a cool player, but he just a little limited on the offensive side, and that's kind of like the series we're going for. Let's take a look at the Lakers. Rui Hachimura, with 23. Over 90% or over 50% shooting, 5 threes. He definitely came to play that night. LeBron 27 and 27 with 12, 8 assists, near triple double. It's actually funny. Even though he had 27, I believe none of those points came in the fourth quarter where they kind of really mattered. And we can take a look if we kind of look at the top right here. If you can see where my mouse is, if not, I'm sorry, but. You can see in the fourth quarter they completely melted down. Only 19 points in the fourth, while the Minnesota Timberwolves were able to score 32 and definitely take them over the edge. That run in the fourth quarter is what had them. And again, it goes to the conversation that we're gonna eventually have to have about the Luka Doncic LeBron pairing, and it's. That team is very top heavy in the sense the starters are good, Luka, LeBron, but they just gonna, from what I've seen, it's like they kind of play side to side. LeBron, you try to get a shot, it's not working, swing it to the other side. Luka try to get a shot or draw a foul, and again, it takes teams out of rhythm. Like, Austin Reeves is really like your best third option. Hachimura is definitely a great complementary piece, but what happens when there's they have to play a team that has like a better forward? Or better forwards. Like Jaden McDaniels, he's good. And Alexander Walker, they're good, but they're not the best forwards that are out there, especially on the offensive side. They're more of a defensive-minded forwards. And it's just like, what happens when Hachimura has to go against someone that's a little bit more on the offensive side, or that they're going to rely on more? You know what I mean? So I don't know. The Lakers they're obviously in trouble. I was saying the Lakers in 6. I'm going Lakers in 7, just because I'm gonna be controversial a little bit, and I'm not gonna really try to like. LeBron has done greatness. That's not me trying to downplay the Minnesota Timberwolves or Anthony Edwards at all. I really just want to see what LeBron and Luka can do. Those are two superstars, and you can't count them out ever. And Minnesota has been known for their coaching blunders, I would say. But we got to really take a look. Julius Randle has had a wonderful series. He's been playing really good. He's been saving some of his best basketball for this postseason. Again, Jaden McDaniels with over double digits. He had if I'm not mistaken, he dropped 30 last game. Again, we can always confirm. And yeah, Anthony Edwards was really the calling card. Nasri DiVincenzo, those are two guys that you love to have off the bench. 20 points from them combined, with a little bit over 20 minutes for both of them. And yeah, it's just Minnesota's in a good position. They're in the driver's seat. They took 2 games at home, and it's only up to them to now close in at Staples Center / Crypto.com arena. And we all know that that's one of the toughest buildings to play in the NBA. So let's see what the Lakers decide. What JJ Redick has definitely shocked me in terms of his coaching game plan and mindset and just analytical approach to the game. Like, I really like what I'm seeing out of him, and he was a great player, but he's showing signs of being a better coach. So let's see what the Lakers have in store. Again, I'm gonna repeat Lakers in 7, and expect some battles. I don't see LeBron just going out easily, and that's a conversation for another day as well. Especially as we've been saying twilight of LeBron's career for like how many years now. But we'll have that convo as we look towards the final years of LeBron James and the Lakers run that he's on. But again, Lakers in 7, Minnesota, tough team. Lakers have a little bit of a hole to come out of, but I've seen LeBron do it in the finals, and that's obviously not just because you did it once doesn't mean you're going to do it again. But I think Minnesota is definitely like belt to ass with the Lakers right now. So we'll take a look and see. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of game plan. Like, again, this was a whole matchup thing for the Lakers and the Timberwolves. They have to match up well, and Timberwolves are matched up really well against them. And they control the series. So let's see what happens in Game 5. All right. We have a few more games left, and the first game is the first game. I apologize. The next game on the list is the Boston Celtics and the Orlando Magic. Now, this game, I have a mixed opinion about this because, in all honesty, there's some bright spots that I really like, and there's some spots that I really, really don't like. Okay, let's talk about it. Boston, they're up 3-1. But if we take a look, besides that first game, they've lost every game by single digits, or they've beaten the Magic by single digits. I really, truly think that's a testament to the Magic defense. We all know that they're historically good at being defensive-minded people and defensive people. We know that Orlando is. They're more on the defensive side. As you can clearly see, their 3-point shooting is abysmal. It's wild, and again, that's actually something to pay attention to. That this game was so close. Obviously, the Celtics did not shoot well from 3 at all. We have like Jaylen Brown 0 for 3, Al Horford taking 3 threes and not making any. Jason Tatum with 30% shooting. A lot of free throws. They took 30 free throws, so there's a 12-point advantage. There's a 12 free throw advantage. 16 made, so 16 plus 16 for the Celtics on free throws. The Boston Celtics committed 17 fouls versus the Orlando Magic's 24, and so we're gonna have to have a serious conversation. Again, I'm alluding to the fact that we'll cover all these teams. Their needs in the offseason, but we need to pay attention to Orlando for a specific reason. They cannot score specifically behind the arc, and it's just very difficult to beat any team when historically, but for the season, you're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the NBA. the whole league has revolutionized, and teams are taking 30, 35 threes a night. And while Orlando seems to be keeping up with the trend, they're not keeping up in the making it aspect of it. And we can clearly see, like, Banchero, 33% from three. Franz Wagner, even worse. 4 threes for Corey Joseph and Contavious Caldwell Pope, 40 points. 50% shooting from the 3-point line. And then after that, it's literally nobody. Like, the bench is, like, there's no threes that came from the bench. Anthony Black is the only person that kind of put up points, but in his minutes, they were kind of ineffective because he's just giving up so many more points on the defensive side of the ball. Only the starters have any plus minus, and again, Banchero, while he had 31, it was a contained 31. Franz Wagner, he had some good play, 7 assists, 6 rebounds is definitely a great stat line. 9 with 11 rebounds is amazing from Wendell Carter Jr., but it's just not enough, and it's just not enough for this team. It's very evident that they don't have enough offensive firepower, and while the Boston Celtics are the opposite of that, where they have so much firepower on the offensive side, they'll have their nights where they can't knock down shots. But again, if you're going to the free throw line 32 times versus 20, how do you expect to beat this team? And you're not hitting threes. It's just you have to find a way to counterbalance the advantages. And if the advantages seems to be on the physicality or getting to the lane, you gotta hit threes, or you know what I mean, or like something. So I don't know. Orlando definitely could have won that game. It was a lot closer than the final scores alluding to, especially with Boston kind of going up at the end. Again, we got to give our credit where it's due. Jason Tatum did have 37 with 14 free throws. Jaylen Brown, 21. Those two went to the free throw line almost 25 times combined alone. So again, their aggressiveness, how keeping their foot on the pedal, it's that's their game plan going in. It's enough to beat this team. I want to talk about Kristaps Porzingis. He had a pretty poor game the last game, 19 with 5 rebounds, not bad at all. On 50% shooting, he had a pretty bounce back game. Derek White consistent, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, a block, turnover, 1 foul. Pretty good stat line. I would take those stats any day. Because you're going to be getting more minutes, and you're definitely a key factor. Teams are going to have to game plan for you because you are a problem, and it's just Pritchard, not really much off the bench, but the units that he was with, he was able to capitalize with and play some defense, and it was just a different game for everybody else. Again, Orlando, they got to look in the offseason. I don't know if their timeline is long enough to go draft a person to catch and shoot, but they got to go find somebody that could let go of the ball, like they could shoot the ball. They need somebody who could shoot the ball on a high clip, on a high volume. It doesn't have to be Steph Curry. Shoot, it don't even have to be a Klay Thompson level guy. It just give somebody consistent from the 3-point line, who's not like a superstar. If they could get that was who Contavious Caldwell Pope was, but we all saw that once the Denver Nuggets won that championship, he got his bag and he left. And, ever since, I haven't seen him contribute to any winning basketball. Even, even Hashimura, somebody like that. Even somebody who could just consistently, maybe perch in the corner and knock down 2-3 threes, maybe get some layups, play some D. Their defense ain't the problem. Their scoring is, and let's see what they do in the offseason. Again, I have Boston in 5. They're going back home. Orlando, and I'm going to make a disclaimer right now. The only way I see Orlando winning another game is if it's by 3 or less. It's a buzzer beater or a crucial steal. I do not see them. I don't see them beating the Celtics by more than 3 points. I will happily eat my words if they do. But I see Boston just seems so ready to get this series over with, especially with that game 4. They kind of teased the series is gonna go to 6, but nah, they handled their business and finished what they got to do. So, Orlando has a lot of work to do, and Boston, they're the favorites. Not favorites, they're the reigning champions, and they have the pedigree, and this roster is almost identical to that team, just maybe a few extra pieces, but yeah, let's see what happens. Boston in 6, in 5. That's my. I'm always gonna update my take. Boston in 5. Okay, next on the slate is the Indiana Pacers and Milwaukee Bucks. And okay, where do we start? Well, we start with the fact that the Pacers had 8 players in double figures. 8 players in double figures. Yeah. Can we talk about how they hit a little bit under 50% from 3, while the Bucks hit a little bit over 40% over from 3? So it wasn't like a scoring thing. Giannis was doing his thing, 28. Bobby Portis with 14. Kevin Porter Jr. with 23 off the bench. But again, if you pay attention to how deep these rosters or even these like rotations were going, we need to talk about the highlight of, or the low light, I should say, of the night, and that really is Damian Lillard going down with an apparent leg injury, which was later confirmed to be a torn Achilles. Funny enough, he actually suffered an Achilles strain a little bit less than 365 days before this injury, and it's really sad to see. Damian Lillard, he's definitely a legendary player. He gave Portland those great years. No finals run, unfortunately, for that time, but we don't have to always chalk it up to that. He was definitely a fan favorite over there in Portland. He was definitely like under recruited. Went to a pretty not so known college program for his school to play basketball, and it's just a shame to see him get hurt like that. I obviously don't like the salt wounds and all that. I did mention in my previous video that the blood clots was a kind of a red flag to me, and that he came back so fast. Obviously, you don't want to wish injury or anybody getting hurt when they play, but it's just tough to see. Damian Lillard, as he is in the twilight of his career as well, and as someone who relies a lot on that athleticism and lift from his legs and all that, like the Achilles tear is definitely not in the bingo cards for Damian Lillard if he had a choice in the matter. So again, healthy recovery for Damian Lillard. We definitely hope he's back in time for next season, if not the season after. And yeah, I think that injury kind of like sums up the whole entire series. Like the Bucks were just really trying to find a way to make it make sense. And bringing in Dame was a great move on paper, and it still was a great move. They were definitely competitive in the regular season, but the season is over 100 games when you make it to the postseason. So, or it's over 80 games, and extra for like 16 to 28 games, and over the length of his career, it's really sad to see, and it was really on some non-contact. Again, I always tell people that like whenever you see somebody get hurt and it's non-contact, like it's something to pay attention to, because it's like it could be really serious. And Milwaukee has a lot of questions to really answer going into the offseason. Not that their season is officially over, but with Damian being out, I think it's safe to assume that the NBA community is aligned that the fact that the Bucks will be going home, whether it's not next game or the game after. But this is not going to 7. The Bucks don't have enough firepower. They don't have enough offensive pieces to really make it happen. Again, we got to talk about Taurean Prince. He was starting, didn't really play well off the bench, not really playing well. So again, their roster can definitely use upgrades, especially if you on the catch and shoot guys and corner threes, and Taurean Prince is really, really inconsistent. Almost like a lot more inconsistent than any PJ Tucker or any other 3-and-D guy, So again, the Bucks have a lot to talk about. We'll kind of jump a little bit into this, but Giannis is under contract up until the end of the season. The next year he has a player option. I'm under the belief that he will not pick it up. I don't think Giannis will pick up the player option. I think, especially with Dame getting hurt, I think the window for him to on this team is closed. He's given this team over a decade of service, multiple All Star appearances, MVPs, championship. I think he's good, and if I were the Bucks, I don't think the Bucks would necessarily want to extend him. Not because he's not worth the extension, but like, God, they hit really great with Giannis in the draft. Like, he was like, what, 13th pick overall, diamond in the rough. Like, when you go into a draft as an organization, you know the first 5, 6, 7 guys are like bona fide. Everybody else is like, you're taking a chance and you're going to have to build a player into the system that you have. Um, and it's just tough to see. We'll definitely go into that later on in the as we talk about our rebuilds, but or our game plans moving forward. But it's just tough to see. You never again. You don't want to see Damian Lillard get hurt, and it's just a rough way to end your season, especially with when you have 48 wins and Doc Rivers. So definitely expect some shakeups from the Milwaukee Bucks front office, especially with the head coach. Don't be surprised if you hear news that or rumors of Doc Rivers being fired, and or if you actually see the news itself. So yeah, it's really tough to see. Indiana, they just came out ready to play. Tyrese Halliburton with 17 and 15, like 8 rebounds. It was just they were on all cylinders firing, and they have a lot to look forward to in the second round. Indiana, I'm not sure off the top of my head who they'll face, but it's going to be interesting. I think they'll be seeing Cleveland if they finish their sweep/series. But we'll go ahead and see. There's a lot to talk about with this Bucks Pacers because these two teams are just like in the heat of it all. But I'm almost confident that if not by the game 4, by game 5, these Bucks will be gone and they'll be looking. They'll be on Cancun and on vacation and ready for next year. So let's go ahead and see what's on the next slate. Next on the slate was the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Miami Heat, and this was one of the worst beatdowns of the playoffs so far. We saw the Cavaliers almost win by almost 60 points. That was definitely more than the Grizzlies' victory a few days earlier. And it was just a lopsided performance altogether. We saw that Miami just had a hard time getting it together. It was really rough. Tyler Hero definitely had a poor game, 1 for 10. He was definitely struggling from the field. He took 9 threes. And Bam Adebayo had team high with 13. I mean, not even. Jovic actually had team high with 24, but the starters just were not doing it. This team definitely just felt defeated. You've seen it. And this game for the Cavs really looked like the game previously, but this time Donovan Mitchell actually performed well. 8 for 15 from the field for 22 points. It was just a complete offensive showcase for the Cleveland Cavaliers, especially Javonte Green with 18 off the bench. He definitely came in and he was definitely doing his thing. Cleveland was just showing how deep they are, how good their roster is, and Evan Mobley as well, showing like not only is he good on offense with 17 and 2 blocks, but the 2 blocks don't show how many shots he's altering, how many shots he's making players pass up just by his presence on the court. So that was utter dominance by Cleveland, and they are rightfully moving on to the next spot. They're really waiting for the next winner for the Indiana Pacers and the Bucks, and Miami. Like I said, they've not Miami, Cleveland. They've handled business and they're moving on to round 2. Miami, they have they were showing Pat Riley a lot during the game, and it was just we have to take a look and see where that organization is planning on going. But they have a lot. Giving up Jimmy Butler definitely was the reason their season kind of went this way, but they seem to have a lot of upside. They have a lot of young talent there, and it's a destination for a lot of players because it's Florida, and we'll see what they have in store in the offseason. But with that, Cleveland's moving on to round 2. All right, and for the final game of Game 4 of the Game 4s was the Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors, and this game was definitely a thriller down to the end. we definitely saw Fred VanVleet have a return to having a good game. He was definitely playing subpar the whole series, and he definitely came in with 8 threes. It was he definitely had a better night than he normally had. Um, Jalen Green didn't really play as well as I would um, I expected. 3 for 8, only 8 points. Definitely a key factor into their loss. Sengun with 31, Dylan Brooks with 11, and Amen Thompson was definitely playing his. I like their grittiness, but I just watching the game and just you could tell that they couldn't beat them like that. Like they couldn't play a whole 48 minutes like just running, crashing, and rebounding, bump shot and one. Like you can't play a whole game like that. So and it really came down to some clutch time decision making, which obviously like that's what the Golden State Warriors like. That's where their expertise, not expertise, but their experience was going to be like. They would have the advantage over the Rockets with that. Jimmy Butler in his return, 27, definitely a noticeable floor raising addition to the team. And it was very evident him not being there in the beginning of the season, him coming, and then him getting hurt for that and missing that one game and plugging in Kuminga. You could definitely see the difference in his game. Podensky definitely had a great game as well with 6 threes and 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He definitely played good. Buddy Hield definitely played well as well. He was definitely knocking down some big shots when he needed to. Steph had, I would say, a quiet night, but that's, in all honesty, that's a good thing because it's like it shows that the offense doesn't necessarily have to come straight from Steph Curry, and it shows that Jimmy Butler opens the floor just like in another dimension for Steph Curry, which allows so having them two on the floor or just them on the team together is just it opens the offense, and it's very evident. Like I seen it with Podensky, like his game goes up when Butler plays because it's just him and Butler just they know how to they can he can feed off of Butler's energy and vice versa, and he can spot up and get some good threes, and it's definitely symbiotic, or not symbiotic, but more like it's an advantageous situation for everybody on the team. Houston again. Steven Adams was definitely good. He had 4 blocks, but again, it's just not enough off the bench. Jabari Smith a little underwhelming this game. You could tell that they really need him to. They really need him to execute. At least give him at least 8-10 points. They need that from him, especially off the bench, with his size and his versatility and things like that. So again, this was just a great slug match. Again, another thing to note, Jimmy Butler came back and Kuminga did not see any minutes. And that is, and just, excuse me, hold on. That's just after game 4. He just didn't have a good, performance on the court. He definitely, it shows that there are moments that he's shown that he could be unplayable for the organization. But for the most part, I think this is a gritty win for the Warriors. 2 home wins, establish their dominance, sneak a game in Houston, and they have the series tied up in a bow, and it's just for them to put it away. We'll see what they do in Game 5 on Wednesday. But it's looking wrapped up for the Warriors. I honestly would give Houston maybe one more win, but I can see Golden State, if not closing in Houston, closing out that game in the Bay, not the Bay, San Francisco. The same thing. But yeah, no, this is definitely a great series. Definitely down to the wire. They won the first game by 10. Houston came back with a 15-point punch, and it's been gritty. They won by 11 game 3, and this one they kind of barely snuck out of there. But it's definitely 2 great wins. Playoffs is definitely intense. This round 1 is complete. Just topsy turvy with 4 games in. We already have 2 sweeps. LeBron's on down 3-1. Steph Curry's up 3-1. And we got some battles out in Denver and LA and all that. So great stuff. I'm excited to keep covering it. And with that, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on the wave. I will see you guys on the Game 5 video. Peace out. Ciao. I'll see you later.